Okay, so for this episode, I guess we could call it episode of featuring a champion in the Scrap the 9 to 5 Champions Guild, I am joined by the one and only Caroline Antonia. Now, Caroline and I are we're actually good friends as well. Besides, business colleagues and so on. So this is one of those weird interviews where we don't normally do things that are like professional type conversations. So we're going to try and do this, this champion's journey interview without it coming across as too weird. But Caroline, thank you for joining me. Thank you for agreeing to share your experience with everybody. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm worried about my internet being all horrible on me, but other than that, I am spiffing.
Fantastic. Because you've just moved into your new flat, haven't you? So you've actually not got any internet yet. And also I can see nothing in your new office behind you.
In my box. I'm in a sparse box. Oh, sparse internetless box.
A sparse internetless box. That sounds like potentially one of my worst nightmares.
Well, it's all right. I mean, it's probably a good reason to just sit and relax and I look at the walls, but ponder infinity.
Ponder infinity. It sounds very deep. Well, to give everyone a quick overview, first of all, of who you are, what you do, and some of the results that you've created, because of course, that is important for somebody who's starting this journey. Caroline, me and you, we go back about 3.5 years. I think we first met in London at a business conference, didn't we? April, is that right? 2017?
April 2017, yeah.
April 2017, yeah. And in that time, I have witnessed you go through like a real journey, as I think we all have. I've definitely been through a journey myself. I know there's been ups, there's been downs, but also more recently, there's been some really great successes, which is what I really wanted to, kind of honor and celebrate with you today. You've had a 5-figure month in your affiliate business that you started around that time, maybe just before. And correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, by the way. You've also, I believe, had a more recent 5-figure month in your coaching business in September of 2020, obviously mid-pandemic as well, which is awesome. And then even more recently, you've had a 5-figure month in December 2020 when you launched your group coaching program. Have I got all of that right, first of all?
Yes, you have.
Yes. Well, little congratulations, round of applause. That's awesome, awesome work. If you could talk through just a little bit, Caroline, about, what it is that you do, like what is the value that you provide people as a coach? What is your group coaching program about? Just kind of paint that picture, first of all, for everyone watching. That would be great.
Okay, so initially what I wanted to do was help coaches with their messaging. And I had a Facebook group of people. Actually, it wasn't the right audience, interesting enough. So there's been a tilt. So initially, that's initially what I started off with when I started getting into coaching, was just helping other coaches with their messaging. And I actually found, which I've cared about for a fair while, that I just had so much more interest in advert writing, but not necessarily for myself, for other people. I was hired as a copywriter, and I've written many things. But I just started getting more. The clients that I was getting I just felt much more connected to helping them create adverts. And then obviously that's how my niche defined itself. I just put out some stuff. I saw what happened. People sort of came to me, and I started helping people write their adverts, and then helping them with the back end stuff as well. But it was the main focus of the adverts, and then elevating what was in the back end funnel, so emails and landing pages and thank you pages. But the real focus was on the adverts. And so that was the one-to-one stuff, just helping people with their messaging and their adverts. And now the group coaching stuff, I decided to launchable because I found that with my one-to-one clients, the most difficult thing I find that people struggle with is just moving forwards. Like we have, and I won't go into that. We haven't really got time, but we have these ideas about in any content creation, we have ideas that everything must look like what everyone else is, or be this specific way. And we really, it's, you know, comparison is the mother of all fuck ups. I don't know what the rest of that quote is, but it basically, I find that where for what people want to achieve, which we established at the beginning of the coaching program, compared to what pressure they're putting on themselves, it's completely out of sync. So yeah, I'm an ad creation coach, but essentially I'm a like get it done coach. And so I kind of my underlying message is get it launchable. So in order to achieve your goals, you do not need to have an advert that is award-winning. You just need something that hits certain benchmarks which are appropriate for your goals. So that's the sort of the tactic and the strategy, and then the mindset of it is like moving forwards with imperfect action. So there's a combination of both. So that's what I do, and that's how I pivoted to my group coaching after a couple of months. That's really crazy, actually. A couple of months of one-to-one coaching.
Literally a couple of months. Amazing how quickly things can get traction when you're kind of focused on value and serving, isn't it? You said something really interesting there, which was that your niche really kind of defined itself. And I just want to pick up on this because I think for so many people who are, let's say, starting a coaching business, or they're an aspiring coach, maybe they have something to share, or maybe they're still working out what it is that they're going to share and who they're going to serve. But a major challenge is that defining the niche, defining the problem that you want to solve and who you want to serve, and also getting crystal clear on on how you're going to find customers, how you're going to acquire customers, basically make your first sale, win your first clients. So can you talk through a little bit more about if we imagine someone's in that space, then maybe not crystal clear on their niche, they haven't got it defined, and they're not sure where and how they're going to win their first customer. How did that become possible for you on your journey to do those two things?
Okay, I've got so many things sort of jumping in my head, and I'm like, which is the best way to go? And I guess I had to be really authentic, and because again, like I suppose this is my whole messaging, and I just went, fuck it, let's see what happens. Like, I mean, I had a rough idea, and this is the thing I struggle with as well. I take issue with people like build a passion-based business, and I take issue with people like be crystal clear on your messaging, because I'm like, that's not really realistic for a lot of people. Some people just, because you can't see what you can't see. So and like I just said, we had this call call before the call. We've had a few takes. We connect the dots going backwards, and they help crystallize the vision. So I found that all of that planning and prepping and perfecting and analyzing, it caused perfection paralysis, and it inhibited me to get clear because I wasn't getting data. So I think one of the main things I focus on now is like you put together a slapdash model, MVP that shit, and then read the data, because no matter what someone tells you about your message, your avatar, your whatever, your niche, you're never going to know until you have data. The data is the biggest revealer. So what do you have to do to get data? You have to put stuff out there that you're not comfortable about. So for me, that's where I was like, I kind of got to the point where I was like, fine, I'll just try this. Let me just try this, move forward with it, see what happens. And what's really interesting about that is you think by picking something, you're then married to it. And then there's this whole unraveling process that you're going to have to go through when you realize what your purpose is. And so I was quite resistant about picking messaging coach for coaches. That was my initial message. Because I was like, well, it's not right. I knew it wasn't right, but it was kind of on track. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have to unpick it and blah, 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 all the things. And I was like, oh, well, we'll see what happens anyway.
So let's touch on that.
I didn't have to unpick it. I just said, right, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this instead.
Exactly. And that is crucial, because I witnessed that. I was, obviously I've known you for the last few years, and seeing you had an audience, you had a community, you were providing value into this community, and everybody knew that you were the person to go to for messaging and copywriting. And I think you said before this call, you said you'd have people just continually coming to you, even though you weren't, that active anymore. Like, you had been active in that community, but people would still come to you for that, because that was what you were known for. And I suppose based off what you said there, Caroline, it's like, you know, perfection is the enemy of great, and the whole philosophy and basis of Launchable is just fail forwards, imperfect action, just put stuff out there. Like, you had a platform, you had a community, you had a skill set that you were providing, you were just focusing on serving people. And because of that, the moment, and this is my, you know, witnessing you on this, the moment that you're like, you know what, I'm just going to respond to what the market is telling me it needs. That was the moment that you know, won your first clients. You really kicked off with Launchable and started getting that traction. What would you say on that note? Let's say somebody is thinking, okay, so have something I want to do. I want to start building an audience. I want to start serving, providing value. What kind of perspectives or things would you share about that? Like, you know, you serving and providing value to an audience.
Okay, so oh, that's such a hard one. It's hard to focus. I didn't focus on other people. Like, I think, like, you've had a lot of, I feel like Mother Teresa, but I'm not. You've had a lot of focus saying, oh, you focused on providing value and giving back and serving, but I didn't really do that. I was always really selfish. I always just wanted everything for me. And this is actually significantly changed. And I find it really hard to say, just think about other people, just serve yourself. But if you've got bills to pay and debts and stresses, it's fucking hard to serve and be a beacon of greatness and love and generosity for everyone else. And it's very unrealistic again. So I'm all about being really realistic about what you want. And if you want to be selfish, you've got to be selfish. So that's where all of my success came from. But I'm gonna change this around and sort of express how that develops, because it's not necessarily the most useful thing in the long run. Because I had these starry-eyed ambitions. Everyone knows, like, so I'm a writer, and I've been writing a book since I was 8, and it's still not published. And I've got all these creative ambitions, and that's something that really drives me, just my creativity. And I'd done webinars before, and I'd sort of like helped out communities. And like you said, I had people trying to connect with me, and I was almost resistant to them. And I bet every single person watching this call, you're resisting something that's easy because you don't like the implications of it. And so that's what I was doing, is I was resisting these people because it meant, oh no, I'm not going to be like this crazy, exciting published author, or it's going to take me away from what I think is going to, you know, get me out of debt, or get me or give me money, or whatever it is. And I read Brendan Burchard's book, and it was high performance habits. And I keep quoting this, even though I don't even know the quote, but I just remember having the epiphany when reading something along the lines of this. And he was just like, high performers provide for other people in the way they can, right? It's about going, it's not about necessarily what you want to do. That was what more it is. You kind of have to sacrifice what you want in order to do what you can. And if you're good at something and people want it, then why aren't you providing it? And that was kind of the epiphany for me. Is that I was like, well, I'm reading High Performance Habits because I want to be a high performer, but everything I'm doing is negating my ability to be a high performer, because I'm focusing on my energy in this area that I'm not actually that great at. And I know I'm a good writer, and I know I'm all these things, but I wasn't getting any traction with it, none. Yet on the other side, I had people like, oh, can you help me with my copywriting? And not necessarily like throwing money at me, but they're like, oh, you know, I hear you're good at this. Can you support me in this way? Or I had people asking me for support. And I was like, and then when I read that book and I had that realization, I was like, and that's what's hard, is I go, I have to let go of this, which is so important to me, in order to give myself what I need, which is important, which is the security that I really want. And so it was the shift, like, to focus on, what was it I wrote down earlier? It was like, I had to make it about them to make it about me. I had to shift the focus from my scattered, terrible, in tatters dreams that weren't going anywhere, to go, right, well, I could just make some traction in this area at least. And it was like being swept up by a tide. That was the real shift, just going, okay, I'll make it about them. It was almost like, I'll make it about them as like a short-term solution. I'll make it about what they want. I'll let the market determine itself. I'll let that stuff happen. because, you know, it was path of least resistance.
Mm.
And then I just got swept up in a tide.
And then what happened after then? So this tide you got swept up in, what was kind of the next few months?
So had my first client, got my first client, like, I think it was on my birthday, actually. So August was...
Happy birthday.
It might have been my 30th as well. I think as well, something about turning 30 was like, sort of shit, oh, Caroline. I've stopped being a piece of pan. And so, yeah, I got my first, I think my first week or 2 weeks was I made 6K. And my first 3 clients were people that approached me, and 2 out of the 3 of them, I was trying to get rid of them because I had a lot of self-doubt as well. I was like, my self-doubt came from the fact that, so this is an interesting one. I actually like charging a lot of money. I've always earned good money, and I've always, I've never had an issue with having high ticket prices. And so when people were coming to me, I was so resistant because I was like, it's going to cost a lot of money to work with me, but I don't feel like I can justify the value. I don't think I can justify the value for the price. So I was so resistant against working with people because I just didn't think it was going to make me happy, because I'd have to drop my price to provide them that value. And I felt like if I charge them this much, they'll feel ripped off. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel very much so that I provide great. Actually, my first client wants to carry on. So I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, that goes great. Yeah, I've got good relationships with my clients. Anyway, so that belief sort of like started to, the only way you can overcome that belief is by going through that process. So anyway, I went through that process, developed my own coaching process, and I kept getting clients. And I set my price, and this is something I think everyone should do as well. Set the price you want. And so I said to myself, I want to work this many hours a week, and I need to make this much money per year. So that means my hourly rate is X. And in a package, let's say I'm doing 12 coaching sessions, that means it costs Y. That is my price. There's no negotiation on that. I don't go down. I will not go down. And I got clients, and I kept getting clients. I was like, okay, this is weird. And it just kind of like just went from there.
Awesome. And there's definitely many lessons in there. And I've always had a lot of respect for your ability to value your time and value what it is that you provide. And of course, as you pointed out, there's often like some imposter syndrome when we first start. And I can relate to that. You know, when I first started in business and I started, you know, a lot of it was affiliate revenue, but then I'd have like my own offers that I started building, and you get that sense of, oh, I don't know if I feel worthy to do this yet. So I can relate to it. I think a lot of people watching might relate as well. But it's like the shift into serving, the shift into looking at what the market is saying it needs, what problems do people have that you can actually solve, and then finally going, all right, I'll get out my own way and let me just, you know, serve those people and solve those problems. And then ultimately, you know, winning your first few clients, starting to get that traction. And obviously, I think the lesson there, again, is just imperfect action. Just put yourself out there. So with all of that in mind, what happened when you went for, or how, let me ask it this way, how did you then come up with the idea of Launchable as a group coaching program as a result of serving people one-on-one? How did that like develop?
It was so organic. And this is something, and the thing is as well, I kind of want to just set some expectations as well, because I think Launchable is a fantastic concept, and I think it's $1 million idea personally. I think it's a multi-million-dollar idea, and I think it can grow huge. The concept of itself, but I don't think that's necessary to come up with what. So I believe it's an amazing concept. I don't think it's that important to come up with that great concept. You can just come up with a really functional concept. But obviously, for me, I'm very conceptual, and that's my focus. Talk about tech stuff, you know, that is a work in progress, and I'm going to struggle. Oh, that's a limiting belief, isn't it? Struggle forever on the tech side. So I will talk about the idea of it, but I think it's, in a way, it can feel intimidating. It's just not necessary to put yourself through this. Well, actually, it wasn't hard, but basically I assessed my data, and I assessed the situation, and I looked. And
when you say data, do you mean like your clients and what they needed and what they were,
rather than not like actual like metrics, or well, kind of, but like, so I looked at my one-to-ones, and I looked at the program, the one-to-ones were organic, how they developed. So I started working with people and saying, okay, so this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. And when I looked at the program and when I was getting, where I was hitting the success and what happened when I was getting people to have success, I was like, and when I looked at their stuff, it's interesting because I was like, oh, it's not, it's not that great, the stuff that I'm helping them create, but there's only so much I can do. I have a degree in English literature and I've got a sales background, but I can't give someone all of my skill and technique through 12 coaching sessions. So even in my head, I'm like, great, but then they're getting results. And I'm like, well, that's amazing. It does. So even, and now I've just lowered my standards. I'm like, what are you trying to achieve? And then what do you need in order to achieve that? And it's going to be so much lower than what you think you need to achieve. And therefore we just create that plan. And I always get with clients, they get this oh, I want it to be better. I want it to be better. I don't care. We can't make it better until we get to the analysis, because you don't know how well this advert is going to perform.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing, I was like, it was a 3-month program. I spent the first month getting them the basic out there. That was the whole point. Get out there, then assess. Doesn't matter if it's a bit shoddy, doesn't matter if it's not perfect, bit rough around the edges, doesn't matter. And that process, I found, it just elevated them to beyond getting it out there. So then once they launched, it's like they became a better version, and they started working on the back end stuff. And then they were like, oh, I can make this way better because they've developed that skill. So even going through that process elevated it. And so when I looked at all that and I saw how this was impacting people, I was like, it's all about our perception of what good is. I had to suspend my perception of what good is on their particular thing to allow it to go out, and it always created results. So it's going, okay, have more realistic benchmarks, make your product launchable, and then that was it. It was launchable.
Got it. And so somebody was watching this, and let's say they're thinking, I'm not ready to put myself out there yet. I don't have my program created. I'm not crystal clear on my messaging and my offer. And because of that, they're not taking action. What advice would you give to someone who's in that position right now?
You're not going to get it. You're not going to get what you want. Get over it, basically. Get over it, get it out, whatever it is, test. Because getting it out puts you in a higher echelon than a majority of people. So it's it's really nice to think about in terms of if let's say, I reckon about so average is where most people are at, right? The average of everyone. You only need to be a little bit above average to be unique.
Yeah.
So why not just aim for that? Because the spoils get improportionately bigger the further away from average you get, but the spoils are really small in average. So you just need to be a little bit better to then accumulate some, and just having the data to read and stuff to analyze, it creates so much leverage, and that's what builds up the momentum. So the first step is going to be a trudge, and it's what do my friends say? If you're not embarrassed by your launch, you waited too long. Yeah. Not my friend. My friend quoted Boss Babe, but that was but my friend told me that. If you're not embarrassed by your first launch, then you just waited too long. And I really, really, I firmly believe that.
I love that. I can definitely relate to that. And I think it's absolutely spot on. How would you say your own personal relationship with failure has changed over the last 3 years?
To be honest, I'm going to be brutally honest. It hasn't changed. It's what I experience it against has changed. So, now I'm concerned about failing my group program. Yeah. Rather, my one-to-ones is not even a concern for me. I'm like, I've got that down. But I almost know, okay, so I can approach it with my process. I've got this process of approaching failure, but I still encounter it. Getting back into 2021, I've had so much anxiety. I haven't wanted to make content. I've really struggled I just struggle all the time. I just struggle all the time. That is the fact of the matter. And getting success doesn't take away the struggle. It broadens the edge of where you experience the struggle, which it does actually give you this amazing sense of security and well-being and just faith in yourself, because you're like, I'm not worried about debts or bills and stuff, or those really niggly things. I'm now worried about my customer experience. That's what's really interesting. I'm actually worried about it, not because of me. It's not gonna, my finances are fine now. I'm worried about them and their experience. And so I guess to bring it back to the question, I go off on my own tangents. I have a process of approaching failure, which has worked 100% of the time. And so I think that is the most important thing. And I think it's, no matter how big you get, you're always it's another level, another devil. So you just have to figure out a way to sort your head out in times of crisis or times of difficulty, times of struggle. That's consistent and that's reliable and that's easy. And so I have a particular journaling method, and that is how I approach that. But I still feel it all the time.
Can you share this process with us?
How long have we got?
Let's say, can you condense the process to 3 minutes?
Okay. So tell me when 1 minute's up, and I'll do it. So it's a simple ABC. Actually, should I do a little iPad?
Go on then.
Why don't I do that? So it's essentially A, B, C, D, E. So that's the way to remember it. It's I don't know what I'd call it personally, just my unfuck yourself model. Okay, so then how do I scroll? How do I scroll with this? I worked it out. There we go. So we got your A, B, C, D, E model. It's not perfect, but whatever, it works. Okay, so you've got your activating trigger. So I'll write this as well, just in this one. Activating trigger. Then you've got your B, which is your whatever belief. And then you've got your C, which is your consequences. Okay, and so if we just go, right, and I actually did some work on this the other day, so I'm thinking, okay, perfect. Thinking of creating content and starting up again. So I've got, I'm getting emails from Cordelia, one of my friends who's also in the coaching space, and I'm seeing her welcoming everyone back after Christmas, and she's got the next meeting booked in already, and she's got this brilliantly worded email, and I've just actually screwed up my first group coaching call because my internet was dodgy, and I haven't done anything in my Facebook group this year. So, and it's the 7th of January, sort of like that. And I'm like, the A, as I wrote down, was thinking of creating content and starting up again. And normally we work out the B first, right? We go, we feel, or the consequences might come first. It's hard to, sometimes it's easier to identify these backwards, but I'm just going to say, when I think about, or when I experience, just try, so this is, you can feel how it's a block, right? It created procrastination in me because I'm trying to restart my group at the end of Christmas, and it's the 7th of January before I actually make a post, because within that time I was just procrastinating. I was just getting out of bed late, like all the things. So I was like, why can I not just write a post? Why can't I do it? What's wrong with me? So I was like, right, so the activating trigger is thinking of writing New Year's 2021 post. That's what was going on. I was like, so this is, for some reason, I'm having a response to this. And my belief, what was my belief? Oh, okay, so this is interesting because I'm able to diagnose what the actual my actual medical issue is, but you don't have to do that. But so I what's my belief? There's too much to do, and I'm not capable of doing it all. And I've done this long enough to know that that's, well, I mean, maybe everyone could just notice it because they're just not an idiot. This is anxiety. For me, when I know that I've always got anxiety when I believe there's too much to do and I can't do it. And the fact that I'm not a hugely organised person interrupts that. Okay, so this was longer than 3 minutes, obviously, but fine. So we'll go through this quickly as well. And so then what I do is I go, there's a beast. So we've got the sea, and there's a beast in the sea. Behavior. So behavior, emotion, action, tendency, symptoms, thoughts. So behavior, procrastination. Emotion, anxiety, worry as well. Action, tendency, that's what you want to, you're inclined to behave like. You just, like, I think that this is how I interpret it anyway. Action, tendency is to just say fuck it, I don't want to do it anyway. It's not worth the stress. I'm not good enough, so I'm going to just not do it. So give up is I want to give up. Symptoms, always in my stomach, tight jaw, heart, lethargic. Thoughts, what is my thoughts? You're useless. That's what I've written down. This is how mean I am to myself. You're useless. And I know going through this, Dan will see so much of me in this. Like, at my worst, this is me. This is how I behave when I'm at my worst. And Dan has seen that before I had a process of going through this. This is how. And so what the action tendency would probably have been a year ago is shout at Dan.
Yeah.
Blame him. Yeah, like, so that would have been the process. And so Dan knows now, really interestingly, we've got this kind of down, like, when I'm in this space and I can't, all he has to do is just help me get all this out. Like, all I need to do is just get it out. And then it's miraculous the way it changes you, honestly. And so what you go then is you say, how do I, don't know. All right. So what you say is like, all of this here, all of this crap is coming from this belief. So it all stems from here. So you're going to have multiple action activating triggers, and the consequences are usually going to be the same. But that all comes from this one belief. And the belief was, there's too much to do and I'm not capable of doing it. And so what you do is, then it's the D section. So D is disputation. Disputation. So we've got this negative, unhealthy belief, and this is what this is here. This is the negative, unhealthy belief, the nub. And then we have here, we're going to try and create a healthy, positive belief. And this is kind of, in a way, well, I won't go there, but it changed how I addressed self-development, because I stopped going, like, so Tony Robbins does this thing, it's like, my flower is, my garden is populated with flowers, my garden, or whatever it is. And he's like, well, it's not true.
There's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds.
There's no weeds. Well, there's fucking weeds. So
yeah.
Get over it. If you've got to say it honestly. So the healthy positive belief is the next step. And it's the same thing. The activating trigger is still the same, but as you go through this process, your brain's a bit weird, so you might come up with like something new. But the belief is going, let's switch this around. Okay, well, and you actually say, what's the problem with this belief, which I didn't go into too much detail with. So I'm not capable of doing it, therefore I'm a failure, and life is awful. So that's so what are you draw conclusions from what this means. So I'm a failure, life is awful. That's what it is. What it means about me and what it means about the world as a whole. I'm a failure. Obviously that doesn't feel good, and life is awful. This is obviously really quick. Is awful. Okay, and so down here, I say, right, there's too much to do, I'm not organized, and I can't, and I'm not capable of doing it. Well, I'd like, instead of going, I am capable, because I'm not going to bullshit myself, I'd like less to do, or no, that's not fun. I don't believe that either. So the moral is interest, and this is what you can do as well. If you don't believe it, don't write it. That's really important. You've got to believe it, because otherwise it's just not going to help you. You're in conflict. There is a lot to do, and it's not optimal, that I'm not capable, but I'm a fallible human being. And then you go, and life is really not that bad, is it? Come on. And then you start going, okay, yeah, it's not that bad. Life's not that bad. It's not awful, and I'm not a failure. And then you go, that bad. So that's genuine, that's real. And I go, actually, you know what? I can connect to that. That's a healthy, positive belief at the same activating trigger. So this would be the same. And then you go through the same process. How do you behave when you believe that? Well, I'd probably just bloody film a video, right? Something like that. Something like it will be more proactive and more productive. So BEAS, well, whatever, S can't fit there. Don't know what I'm trying to write when there's no room. I'm like, I can fit it. Okay. So then you'd go through that process, and I'm going to do that bit. I'm not going to do that bit for you because I've given you an example already. BST. Mm-hmm. So this whole section here is D.
Yeah.
And then you've got, which is the best, which is really interesting, is you've got E. And I'm not sure actually if you've seen me do this before. Because I think when I did connect you, I think I only got to D. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and so, okay, I'll do that. E is empowering. Positive belief. Okay, and so same thing again, A, B, C. So we've kind of, at this stage, we're going to be pretty neutral. That's the kind of thing we're going to be feeling neutral. We're going to be like, we're just chill. Like symptoms, like nothing. We just are, right? Thoughts, oh, it's not that bad. It's meh. This is like meh.
Yeah.
So here we've got empower, we've got to go, well, let's flip this around. Like, what I'm telling myself is that I'm not capable of achieving doing things, and that's just not true, is it? Because otherwise I wouldn't have achieved everything I've already achieved. It's just that I haven't kickstarted my New Year's content thing, but I've got XYZ clients. I've just launched a group coaching program in a small amount of time. Obviously I am capable. Clearly I'm capable. So then you just flip it around, well, I am capable, clearly. What's wrong with, this is just ridiculous.
So what proof can you find in the world that proves your belief to be bullshit?
Yeah, and that's actually a really important part about D, disputation, is I added this in myself, evidence. You need to provide evidence of the fact. Right, because otherwise you don't believe it. That's why you don't come up with crap. There are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds. Because you're like, where is the evidence? Well, there's loads of weeds.
Yeah.
So you have to provide evidence. So that is actually a good point. So again, I am capable. I'm actually bloody successful. I'm actually successful. And life is good.
Mm-hmm.
Life is good to me, right? And at that stage, I'm ready, because I've kind of gone through the neutralizing process. I'm ready to accept this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then I find evidence. Well, lots of clients, results, blah blah, all the things. And so then you do the whole process again. And what you'll find, and what I love about this process, is I've never been able to be grateful. Everyone's like, be grateful. Well, I'm not. Okay. I'm not a grateful person. I don't feel gratitude. I don't feel unbounded joy when I think about abundance. I don't get it. But when you go through this process here, you go behavior. Well, then I'm excited to create content. Okay, I'm planning and getting shit done because I'm energetic. So when you get to the emotions, I always find that I'm grateful here. Because I'm successful and life is good to me. And it's oh God, yeah, and it's just so much better. I always find grateful. These are the things I always find here. Proud and just appreciative. These are the emotions I always feel here. Always grateful, pride, appreciation, curiosity at the unknown as well. Things like that. I always feel stuff like that. And then action tendency, symptoms are always vibrant. I've always felt a bit more Oh yeah, like energized.
Excited and
Yeah,
energized, lit
those
up.
things. Yeah, always, always, always. I'm yet to do this. The only times I haven't experienced the comeback is two times actually. The other day I struggled with it, but I needed to move, so I went out for a long walk, and by the time I got back, I was able to open. So I needed to move my body because I'd been getting up late and I'd been slouching around and stuff like that. And the real thing I needed was like to actually move. So I went for a walk.
Yeah.
But then the only time this hasn't worked is when I don't hit the right belief. You have to hit the right belief. And then the thoughts, obviously, I'm fucking great. And then it's like, with when you've got all of this stuff, so then you've got, I'm capable and actually successful and life is good to me. So that's the belief you've kind of got. And then you go, the activating trigger is thinking of writing a New Year's 2021 post. I'm like, well, I'm great. Like, there's nothing to stop me. And
a lot more empowering, isn't it, when you have that, or you replace the negative belief with the positive belief through this exercise. I love it.
So it's quite, obviously that wasn't 3 minutes, but that's kind of how I go through it. And that is an actual real world example of me being dramatic. I mean, I can't create a post. I can't face it. I can't bear to write a post. It's been so long.
That's so dramatic.
I am so dramatic.
So dramatic.
And that's another thing as well. Allow yourself to be really dramatic, because then you get to go, oh, God's sake, what you like.
Well, I think we can all be dramatic at times.
And I do that. Yes. Well, I love the drama. Gotta have a drama. So yeah, that's me. How do I need to do anything with this? Should I stop share?
Yeah, just stop the screen share. That's perfect. Thank you for going through that. I think that's really valuable. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways here is, like, again, if you're in the early stages, you want to start a coaching business, maybe you want to win your first few clients, and you feel like you've got this mountain to climb ahead of you, go through this exercise and start to pick apart what are the limiting beliefs that are holding us back, prove those beliefs to be not true, and then replace it using Caroline's exercise with empowering beliefs that are going to inspire you and excite you and really just help you to take that first step. Embrace failure, embrace the philosophy of launchable. Doesn't need to be perfect, just get it out there. I love that quote from, I think you said Boss Babe, didn't you? If you're not embarrassed by your first launch, then you waited too long. You waited too long. Just get it out there, get it done. Final thoughts then. Quick fire questions. What would you say is your biggest strategic challenge, Caroline, over the last few months, and how did you overcome it?
I really hate Facebook. It's one of those things I really don't see myself on as a Facebook person. It's just not it doesn't sit well with me for some reason. Don't like it, but it's the most functional for what I need to do. It's great for groups. I've got people there. It's where my audience is. And so my strategy was to have a Facebook group and monetize the group. And I've done that. But overcoming my own, I want to be on Instagram or YouTube, which I do, which are no success, strategically, picking that strategy, that social media strategy, and sticking with it and getting over myself. That's been the challenge, and then seeing it through to the end. Because obviously I don't like Facebook, but I entrusted it because it had the features I wanted. And then I kept going with it until I got the success I wanted. So that's been a real challenge for me strategically. Where do I want to be? And what is the right route, and picking. So that was one big.
Cool. Biggest mental challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest mental challenge. Okay, I'm too expensive for my own good. And that doesn't sound like a big challenge, but I don't want to rip people off. And I thought I wasn't value for money. I'm too expensive for what I'm offering, and one of us is going to lose out. Right. And I overcame it by just going for it and seeing if it was true or not, and preparing myself for the worst and working on my blog every day, and then proving myself that I actually am cheap.
Because and again, just to touch on that quickly, I think that's so important to recognize that the only way that we're going to get through these fears, and the only way that we're going to really start to see our own value, is by going through this. Like, it's not just going to disappear until you start taking action and you start providing real world evidence that you can help people create these results, even if you have the fear that maybe you can't. You know, you've just got to trust yourself. You've just got to trust that you're capable. Brilliant. Final question then. Biggest growth challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, so I wanted to do group coaching for a while. Actually, I was resistant to group coaching. Why was I resistant to that again? Oh, because I wanted to have, what did I want to do? I can't remember, but I didn't want to do group coaching. It's too much organising. I think Dan would know exactly what I mean by that. I cannot get, I didn't even turn up to this call properly. I just fumbled by accident here, even though we booked it, because I needed some help from Dan. So my lack of organisation is something that I really struggle with. So I didn't want to do group coaching because I feared all the things that it required. And that was my next growth step. And what did we do in the end? So I came up with, because Dan and me worked together, so I was going to promote on his platform. And it was just literally just a boom. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do overnight, Dan. Done, let's get it done. And we had these other ideas. We were going to do a soft launch, and it was one of those ones where I was like, it's not going to work. The course decided itself, and I was like, a soft launch won't work. I need one cohort, one closing date, one entry date. Let's just do it. And I also know how much I love to overcomplicate things, and so I didn't want to do a challenge like one of those, like the free challenges, or I didn't want to do a big sale. I just was like, let's get it out there. This is the day it closes. This is what's going to happen. I don't care about everything else. We're just going to make this straightforward as possible. So we had one masterclass, then sales calls off of that. I even just was like, put the price on the masterclass because I want it to be just as clear and simple as possible. I don't want to do this whole like, grand reveal of it being expensive for people. If they want it, they want it. They don't, they don't. Mm-hmm. So it was just unfuzzing the process and going, let's just do it. And the promotion process, which we did, was like a week. And so that for me was, if I'd have not had the date for the masterclass, the date for the doors closing, the date for the course starting, I would have overcomplicated it for a long time. And yeah, so now it's just about going, what's the fastest route to get the most useful result?
Yeah. So kind of final summary then of that is that you had an audience of people who had a problem that you could solve, and we did you did really a group coaching program. It's going to be designed to solve this particular problem. We just did 1 week of like a few posts, a few messages to the community, and then you did, what did you do, 14k of revenue, something like that, off of like
no.
Because you did the one-on-one as well.
Oh, I had an upsell as well. So it was, I think,
there or there. It was there or thereabouts. So yeah. It was about let's say about 14k off of 1 week's worth of a few messages into a community that had a problem that you were able to solve. And the reason that you were able to solve that was because, like you said earlier, you kind of said, right, like, this is a skill set that I have. This is something I can do to help people. I'm going to let go of like the big vision of being J.K. Rowling or some like, grand billionaire writer. And instead I'm just going to focus on serving and helping people. And off the back of that, that was really
got over myself and eliminated opportunities for me to get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, just put yourself out there, focus on serving people, focus on what you can do, what is of value, be willing to just get it completely wrong. And the more that you can take action and fail forwards, the faster you're going to learn, the faster you'll get the results. Brilliant lesson to end on. Caroline, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you sharing that exercise. That was awesome. And to you guys watching, I hope this is beneficial and inspiring and motivating. And yeah, go and fail forwards and go and get yourselves out there and hopefully get your coaching businesses kicked off. All right. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon.